All right, so again, welcome everyone. We are so glad that you're interested in the evening MBA or online MBA program. Welcome to our virtual information session. Going to turn it over to Dr. Rod Smith.
Okay, well, I'm going to do some of the introduction and then Lindsay's going to walk you through the application process. So it depends on what stage of your interest you are. That'll kind of lead you to which part of this you should listen closely to. I'll talk a little bit about the value of MBA. If you're here at our information session, you must have some idea of the value of the MBA. So I will give you some perhaps new information, perhaps old information. Talk a little bit about the resources that we have available for all our MBA programs. We actually have 4 programs, and I will mention all 4 tonight, but we're really focusing on the evening and online MBA. We'll give you a table that might let you select the best of our MBA programs for you, and then Lindsay's going to take you through the application process, and we'll finish with opening it up for questions. Okay, so the value of getting your MBA. If you're looking for an MBA, the first thing you should look at is that little symbol down in the right-hand corner. The program should be AACSB accredited. That's an organization that accredits colleges of business and programs around the world. It is the premier program for accreditation for business schools. There are probably 16, 17,000 business schools in the world. I haven't counted them all, but there's only about 700 that are accredited. So it's a pretty thorough review. They come and they visit us every 5 years, and they look very carefully at how we're running our programs. So, value of MBA. You can join a network of connected MBAs. So you get to meet some new people working in new industries. You get to work with our career center, get to talk to potential employers, or you may just enjoy the classes and you may target getting a promotion in your own business. But in either case, it's a good way to jumpstart your career. More knowledge, more investment in you always pays off. Okay, it's really good for people that are looking at changing industries, and we'll talk a little bit more of some of the opportunities there. And certainly, I think that getting an MBA typically results in a promotion or raise in pay and lets you invest in yourself. Okay, this was a recent report from Georgetown University's Center for Education and the Workforce. They had 2 points. The first point they made was that not everybody that has a college degree makes more than people that just have a high school diploma, which seems pretty obvious. There are people that come out of high school, go into business, and become really successful. But the question is, on average, what happens? So you can see here that the median lifetime earnings goes up pretty regularly as you get more education. Down on the bottom, I kind of mixed 2 charts because we really weren't interested in business before the bachelor's degree. So that is their median lifetime earnings statistics for all graduates of high school, some college, associate degrees, et cetera. So if you have an associate's degree, you can expect on average about 2 million lifetime earnings. If you get a bachelor's degree, that goes up to about 2.8 million. If you get a master's degree, now these are business, it goes up, as you can see, to almost 3.7 million, I think is the figure. Doctoral degree, we don't offer those, but they make a little bit more. And professional degree, something like an attorney, can make a little bit more. But you can see the steady progression as you get more education. And for you that are math oriented, you'd want to look at For my master's degree, how much more is that for the bachelor's degree? And how long is it going to take me to pay off my investment in myself? And the answer is it's quite a bit more. And the payoff goes pretty quickly. But the payoff is not only money, payoff is a variety of other things, but those are often individual. Okay, some of the things that we provide. We have a graduate business career center. We have graduate business career employees that work in the University Career Center, but they're specifically tasked with helping our graduate programs. They assist with resume writing, mock interviews, internship programs, and a lot more. They hold seminars, and if you were in the accelerated MBA program, you'd get a specific course with them. They develop and run the graduate mentor program. So every year we connect students that want to connect with a mentor with alumni, potential employers. And so you get to maintain or create those connections and those networks. Okay, a bunch of workshops are available for networking, Toastmasters, and more. And Lindsay is working with a group of graduate business students that have formed themselves as ambassadors, and they work with current students, and they provide information to anybody that's interested in our graduate programs. So they're getting oriented right now. This is a new task for them, and they look like they're off to a flying start. Okay, some of the opportunities that you have. We've had a number of our students start their own business. There is something we call the Apostle Incubator, where you can participate with other people that want to develop new business concepts. Part of that would be developing a business plan to compete in the Sunstone Innovation Challenge. And the winners there can get up to $50,000 to start their own business or provide or get similar services to start their own business. And we had a student that was working with us in the graduate programs office last year that got a nice prize and ended up starting his own business. Our programs that we're going to talk about are evenings. So it allows you to work during the day and come to school in the evening. Certainly the online MBA allows you to go to work and then come to school in the evening from home. Okay, so I said we had 4 MBA programs, and I'll talk a little bit about the differences among these programs. But we have the Saturday MBA that meets every Saturday for approximately 2 years. The accelerated MBA is kind of unique. It is specifically aimed at recent graduates of an undergraduate business program or a related program. And that is our only daytime MBA. The evening MBA and the online MBA are evening programs. The evening MBA is more flexible. Students kind of proceed through at their own pace. And the online MBA is cohort-based, and we have a full-time and a part-time program. So it depends on how fast you want to go. And we'll talk about this more in just a little bit. We also have 4 master's programs. We have a Master's of Science in Information Systems, a Master of Science in Marketing Analytics, a Master's of Science in Finance, and a Master of Science in Accountancy. Those are shorter 1-year programs typically. But if you're interested in those, we can certainly provide information on those as well. Okay, so let's talk about our evening MBA. I mentioned it was flexible. It is designed for working professionals. You have a list of courses that you have to go through, but you go through at your own pace. You can take one course, one semester, 3 courses the next semester. So it depends entirely on your schedule. The classes are typically face-to-face. I know COVID has changed a lot of things, but starting in the spring, we'll be going back to face-to-face. They are typically smaller class sizes. By that, I mean somewhere between 20 and 35. And at this point, there are some opportunities to specialize if you are interested in a particular discipline like finance or human resource management or information systems, that we can tailor your electives to meet your goals in that area. So this is our typical evening MBA applicant. Just under 30. In the past, it's about 50% female, but the trend is going toward more female, fewer males for some reason. I don't understand why, but that's true for both undergraduate and graduate programs. They've been good students. The average GPA at their undergraduate program was 3.15. We've been waiving the GMAT and GRE since the start of COVID, and we're going to continue that this year. In the evening program, about 8% of our students are international students. And typically our students are either business or engineering majors, but again, there is no requirement that you be an undergraduate business major to come into our evening MBA. So our online MBA is much newer than our evening. It's been going for 3 years. It is, again, designed for working professionals. It is online. As I mentioned, we have the full or part-time options. And it is interesting in that we take the 16-week semesters that the university normally follows, and we divide them into intensive 8-week sessions. So instead of taking 4 courses as a full-time load, you would take 2 courses in 8 weeks and then 2 courses the following 8 weeks to get your 4 courses. We think it allows the students to focus more on the specific courses. Of course, it is a little intensive, but it's been working out very well. Our faculty is a combination of our full-time faculty and some professional experts from the field. So you get a good chance to meet people in industry and also associate with our longtime faculty members. Okay, online MBA, this is a shorter or smaller sample. Average age is about 30, 56% women here. Average GPA 3.09, not much different than the 3.15. Again, we waived the GMAT and GRE. And we have business and engineering again, and some communications majors, but we have students from almost every possible undergraduate major that I can think of. Okay, what does your schedule look like? Coming in, if you were coming in the fall, you would get accounting 500 and management 500. The 500 courses are really introduction courses to those particular fields, assuming very little knowledge, but we would try to get you up to speed quickly. Okay, and then you start moving into some more advanced studies. So we have the quantitative methods courses, the seminar in human resource management. So we have the first year core courses, which are really introductory. The second year core courses really build on the first year. And then you move into elective courses, which we specify the electives for the online MBA, and then you finish with the capstone course. For the part-time schedule, you can read through all of this, but basically you follow the full-time schedule, but at a slower pace. So instead of taking 2 courses each 8-week session, you only take 1 course. Okay, so I'm going to go over the 4 different programs and talk a little bit about the differences and why you might be interested in one program versus another program. So we'll move to our MBA comparison chart. Okay, as I mentioned, the accelerated full-time MBA is for recent graduates from an undergraduate program. It is run through our College of Professional and International Education. So it is tuition-based. The total cost there, $950 per unit. It's 48 units. You can waive up to 6 units, so that would reduce it. But the interesting thing about the accelerated full-time MBA is it's a daytime program, and it offers an international trip. We provide your books. We provide the parking. Okay, so and we give you meals while you're on campus. So it's really all expenses paid program, one price, you get everything. The specialty for the accelerated MBA is innovation and entrepreneurship. So they work directly, they have to work with the Apostle Incubator. And they also have a particular class with career services. So very heavily focused on developing them to be innovators. In contrast, the evening MBA is a little bit older students. As I mentioned, the average age is 29. The average cost is lower. It is a state-supported program, so the state of California pays for part of your education. Again, all of the MBA programs are 48 units, but you can waive some of the first-year core courses depending on your background or how recently you graduated. So the length of the program depends on how fast you take the courses. So you can stretch it out to 36 months. You can get done in 30 months. You could actually get done more quickly than that if you wanted to take more than 2 or 3 courses per semester. There is an optional international trip when things slow down and COVID-19 is under control. We haven't offered that for 2 years. And I mentioned we have some concentrations or specialties where you can take elective courses in a particular area. For online MBA, the fees are almost exactly the same as the evening. Okay. It depends on whether you're going full-time or part-time. There's a little bit of difference because if you go more semesters, you end up paying slightly more in the semester-based fees rather than the credit hour fees. So the online MBA can last from 21 to 48 months, depending on whether you're full-time or part-time. Again, we would like to get an optional international trip, and I hope to reinstate that by next year. The online MBA is aimed at general management, so that's just the concentration. There's really no option to specialize. We specify the electives. Now, certainly if there are certain circumstances where we will entertain changes to that, but generally it's not necessary. For the evening and online MBA, notice that the books and parking are not included. So you'd have to come up with the cost of your books. For the online MBA, there isn't any cost of parking. So you save that right off the bat. And finally, the Saturday MBA is the equivalent of our executive MBA. It is run through our College of Professional International Education. So it is one fee for everything. You get the international trip, you get books and parking. And students come to school every Saturday. It is a hybrid program, so you'd come one Saturday and you would participate online the following Saturday. Okay, it takes about 23 months because this program works on special 10-week sessions. It starts just a little bit earlier than the normal semester. You go continuously through the summer and you finish in just under 2 years. The international trip, as you can see there, is required, same as the accelerated full-time MBA, and the Saturday MBA is resuming their international trip, and they're going to go to Amsterdam and Rotterdam next June. And the accelerated MBA takes their international trip during our winter semester, so in January, and they're going to go to Ireland this year to focus on innovation and entrepreneurship in Ireland. Okay. So if you have any questions on accelerated and full-time MBA, we'd be happy to answer those. But again, we're focusing on evening and online for this particular presentation. Okay, those are good email addresses to know. They go directly to Lindsay's inbox, and you can certainly send an email to me for any questions. It's rod.smith@csulb.edu, but you can certainly contact Lindsay and she can forward any questions you have for me. I had a question about the MS programs. Okay, I'll go into those quickly. The MS in Information Systems is run through the College of Professional International Education. So it's one of those one price gets you everything programs. It is STEM designated, so international students are often very interested in that. Again, it is a 30-unit program. Full-time is 9 units per semester. So students finish in about 21 months in that program. The MS in Marketing Analytics is a stateside supported program. So you pay tuition and fees just like the normal Cal State undergraduate. The fees for graduate students are higher, and there's a graduate fee that I can discuss in more detail if you want to know where that came from. But the MS in Marketing Analytics is also a STEM designated program. So we have a lot of interest from international students in that. It focuses on programming, marketing analytics, to use Python. So it's heavily quantitative. Same thing with the MS Finance program. It is a 1-year program, 30 units. So full-time is 12 units there. And it is heavily quantitative. It focuses on Python programming and the use of analytical methods for financial purposes. And the MS in Accountancy is really aimed at getting people qualified for the CPA. So unless you have a background in accounting, that's probably not a good program for you. And back to Lindsay for the application process.
Thank you so much, Dr. Smith. All right, so now that you are quite excited about, hopefully you have narrowed down which program you might be interested in, I'm going to review some information about the application process. So just generally speaking, our application requirements for any of our graduate business programs are that applicants have a bachelor's degree from a regionally accredited institution. As Dr. Smith mentioned, our office is continuing to waive the GMAT or GRE exam requirement for all of our 2022 applicants. So hopefully that is great news for you. Our application also consists of a copy of your resume, a video statement of purpose, a short answer statement, and 2 letters of recommendation. In the following slides, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about each of these application components. Our application process is completed entirely online via Cal State Apply. And both the evening MBA program and the online MBA program are open in both spring and fall. So our spring 2022 deadline for international applicants that has passed, it was October 1st. But for our domestic applicants, that is remaining open through November 1st. So you have just over like 2 weeks or so to get your application in if you're interested in spring 2022 start. And then for fall 2022, the application cycle just opened on October 1st. And so our deadlines for fall 2022 for international applicants will be April 1st. And then for our domestic applicants is June 1st. As I mentioned, we'll go into more detail about how to complete the various components of the online Cal State Apply application in just a moment. The application does cost $70 to submit, and unfortunately, at the graduate student level, there is not an option for an application fee waiver. That's only applicable to undergraduate level applicants. We'll also discuss nuances with sending transcripts and test scores if you might need to send that for like an English language requirement or something like that. So going into a little bit more detail here, the Cal State Apply application, this is a screenshot. And again, as I mentioned, both the spring term and our fall term are open right now. And so you could be eligible to apply for either one that you might be interested in. And you'll want to select graduate level applications. The system will then have you create a username and a password. And once you select your program of interest, it will then take you to your application dashboard. And so this is a screenshot of that dashboard. And this has the 4 different application quadrants that are part of the application. So we'll go into a little bit more detail about each of those. Quadrant 1 consists of personal information. And this is your biographic information and your contact information. So your name, your email, phone number, residence, how best to contact you. And so it's just your basic personal information, contact information there. And then moving into quadrant 2, this is your academic history. This is where you will enter in the institution from which you obtained your bachelor's degree. If you are an applicant who already has a master's degree, you could also enter that information in. The academic history quadrant will also ask you to enter your GPA. Please note that this will be confirmed by our Office of Admissions. So do be as truthful as possible on that. We know sometimes different institutions have different GPAs, so there's like a cumulative and a transfer, etc. And so do just be, as honest as you possibly can about what your GPA is, because it will be confirmed. Moving into quadrant 3, which is supporting information. There's actually nothing to submit here because you'll be submitting a copy of your resume in quadrant 4. So in this particular section, you will just select the option that says, I'm not submitting anything.
In progress.
And then moving into quadrant 4, this is the specific program information that will be requested. So once you click on the quadrant 4 box here, it will take you to essentially like a home page for quadrant 4. There'll be some additional information, and our contact information will be listed here in case that's helpful. And then you'll see 3 different tabs at the top for documents, recommendations, and questions. And so we'll go into more detail about each of those tabs here as well. Under the questions tab, this is where you will be asked to enter the link to your video statement of purpose. So at Cal State Long Beach, we actually don't require a written statement of purpose or a purpose statement, as it's called at some institutions. Instead, we ask that applicants submit a video. So you can utilize any video platform service that you are comfortable with. A majority of our applicants do utilize YouTube, but we've also had applicants submit on Vimeo or like another streaming or video platform that exists. The only thing is that it just needs to be the link to it provided with the Cal State Apply application so that the admissions committee can click on that and go directly to the link to view and listen to your video. The only formatting requirements are that it is no longer than 5 minutes. We do recommend that you utilize your time in that 5 minutes as best as you can. And we do recommend that most videos should be at least 3 minutes in length to really answer each of these questions within the prompt. So within your video, you will be responding to the prompt, which is through your resume and recommendations. We have a clear sense of your professional path to date. So in your video, you should address what are your career goals for the next 3 to 5 years, and what in your imagination is your long-term dream job. So we want to hear about what you are planning to do if you get into the program, how you'll use that, what your long-term dream job is, and what that vision is. All right, so we do have a short answer, and we truly mean short here, written personal statement. And this will be a text box. So this is not a document that you're uploading. You are just typing into a text box within Cal State Apply in quadrant 4. And the prompt is to describe a time when you dealt with someone who was difficult. How did you handle the situation, and what would you do differently if you could do it over again? So I do have to just say a brief caveat here. In previous terms, and for the spring 2022 application cycle, there was a maximum of 1,500 characters. So if you are applying for spring 2022, you will notice that it is 1,500 characters, not 2,500 as we have listed here. We've gotten feedback from a lot of applicants that it's just really not enough space to describe this situation. And so beginning with the fall 2022 application, it will be increased to have an additional 1,000 characters for 2,500 max. And I am emphasizing characters here. So it is characters, not words. So this is a very small text box. 2,500 characters is just about 1 page. So again, if you're applying in spring 2022, it's a 1,500 character max currently. But beginning fall 2022, it has increased to 2,500 characters. All right, so the next tab in quadrant 4 of Cal State Apply is the Letters of Recommendation tab. And this is where you will enter the name and emails of 2 individuals who you'd like to write your letters of recommendation. I will say that the quadrant 4 component for recommendations will allow you to add up to 3 names and emails of recommenders. We only require 2 letters, but we often hear from applicants and prospective students that they're concerned that maybe one of their recommenders is going to be flaky, or they're worried they won't submit it on time. So we want you as the applicant to have as much peace of mind as possible with your application. So you can enter up to 3, but only 2 are required. As soon as you enter the name and the email of your recommender, they will immediately receive a link from Cal State Apply, and that link will take them to an instructions page of how to upload their letter of recommendation. So you as the applicant are not uploading the letter of recommendation, your recommender has to be the one to do it. And this is how we are maintaining the confidentiality within this process. So we get a lot of questions about what a letter of recommendation should include, or what a good letter is, and who it should come from. So we'll just address that really quickly as well. A letter of recommendation should be from a professional. So this is either a professor or an instructor you've had. It could be someone in your workplace, like a director, a supervisor, someone who's had some sort of like responsibilities over your work, or who's overseeing your classwork or your actual work in the workplace. And that letter should include a summary of their history with you. So how did they meet you? How long have they known you? Have you worked together with them, or are they an employee of yours, or are they in one of your classes in the past? It should also include a detailed statement of the characteristics that they believe you have that will help you to excel in graduate school. It's also great if a letter of recommendation has some specific descriptions about the contributions you've made either to your workplace or to the classroom. And then finally, the closing of the letter of recommendation should include an endorsement for your candidacy. So they strongly recommend you, they highly recommend you, and then just summarizing like why they think you should be admitted to the program, why you would be a good fit. All right, so once you have completed the application components and paid the $70 fee, then you will be contacted by the university admissions office to send in transcripts. And so I do have another caveat here because there is a difference in the spring 2022 application cycle versus the fall 2022 application cycle. So for all terms previous to now and including spring 2022, our university admissions office will require an official transcript from every institution that an applicant has attended. This includes any community or junior college coursework, even if you transferred that to your bachelor's degree issuing institution. Beginning in fall 2022, the admissions office is changing their requirement to only be a bachelor's degree issuing institution's transcript. And potentially they'll follow up if needed for additional transcripts that will only be utilized in cases where an applicant may need additional transfer coursework, or perhaps they completed an MBA, I'm sorry, not an MBA, but a previous master's degree in another field to help with a GPA requirement. So again, in spring 2022, university admissions is requiring a transcript from every institution attended no matter what. But beginning in fall 2022, they will only be requiring the transcript from the bachelor's degree issuing institution, and they'll follow up with you only if needed for additional coursework or GPA verification. We highly recommend that you do not send transcripts until after you have submitted and paid for the Cal State Apply application. For applicants who send a transcript too early or before they've submitted their application, Enrollment Services and Admissions has no way of matching your transcript documentation to your application. So do wait to send transcripts until you have applied. We have a variety of ways that the institution accepts transcripts. They can be submitted electronically to this email address listed here. They can also be submitted via snail mail or in person to our admissions office, which is located in Brotman Hall. All right, and we typically do have a few international students, especially in our evening program, as Dr. Smith mentioned. So international applicants, you do have additional documentation and requirements to submit to the Center for International Education Admissions Office. So it is a unique and separate office on campus that supports our international applicants. We highly recommend that you remain in contact with them throughout the application process with any questions you have. This could be about transcripts, visa documentation, English language requirement, or tests you're submitting to meet that requirement. So any other documentation or transcripts for international institutions or students who are going to be studying on a visa should be submitted directly to CIE. And so their email and address is separate and different than our university admissions office and listed here as well. We will be opening it up for questions in just a moment. I know we've had a few more folks who've joined us since we started. So just a friendly reminder before we open it up for Q&A that everyone will receive a copy of this PowerPoint presentation as well as the link to the recording of this session just as soon as that downloads and is available. We welcome you to contact us, especially if you have questions even after this session. So I do just want to mention that the Graduate Business Programs Office is unfortunately still working remotely during this time. Our office is actually being renovated, which is very exciting, but there's been delays. And so we are still working remotely, and email remains the best method of communication. As Dr. Smith mentioned, we are so excited. Our graduate business student ambassadors will be hosting a student virtual cafe. This will be taking place on Monday, November 1st. And we will be sending out additional details to everyone who registered for today's event. This is an opportunity to kind of do a virtual meet and greet with our current students. You can ask them, common questions that we get asked a lot here, but don't necessarily have the student voice to answer. So you could ask them about how they balance school and life and work. And you can ask them about homework and, how they kind of, made this decision about which program was the best fit for them. So we really look forward to hopefully seeing you there. I am going to go ahead and stop recording and stop sharing now so that we can open it up for questions. Give me just one moment, and thank you again for joining us.
Lindsay, we've got a couple of